Hey everyone, Steve here at SKS Props, and I'm going to show you how to fabricate a plague mask out of HD foam. Welcome to the shop. In today's video, I want to show you what it takes to fabricate a Plague Doctor mask using my line of HD foam, which you of course can find over at Blick Art Materials. Now this was a fun build and pretty relevant because Halloween is right around the corner, and in the current state of our economy, it seems pretty fitting. What's also awesome about this build is I have free templates for this, so you can build right along with me. Even if you're brand new to foam smithing, you've never done it before, download the templates and you can have your own plague mask in just a couple of hours. Also, if you notice the paint job on this, it's got a lot of iridescence to it. It's pretty shiny, kind of spooky, and that's because I use a new line of FX paints from Plaid. I want to show you guys what it takes to put this mask together and paint it. We got a lot to do, so let's get started. Now the first thing I did was come up with a template for this mask, but you can go to sksprops.com and download this for free. Transfer those pieces onto some 6mm HD foam and cut them out using a utility knife. To clean up my cuts and round the pieces over, I used a smooth sanding drum attached to my Dremel rotary tool. And remember, safety first, so make sure you have your eye protection and a respirator. I marked the back of the pieces so I don't get them mixed up and put a bead of glue at the top of the beak. I firmly press the pieces together until the super glue cures and then bend the sides out to make room for the bottom of the beak. Each side of this piece is also glued into place using some Bob Smith super glue. Now that the beak structure of the mask is complete, go ahead and grab the piece for the forehead. I line this piece up until the eye hole makes a complete circle and then use a pencil to mark where my adhesive needs to go. Once again, super glue is used to tack down each side of the mask first. Once the sides of the mask have cured, I've put some adhesive on the bridge of the nose and pressed that into place. And there we have the main structure for the mask. Now I'm going to do a trick to keep the sides of the mask from flaring out too much. Cut a strip of 2mm foam, and while the mask is bent, glue that strip down. This will make the mask have a permanent curve that won't go flat and will conform better to the wearer's face. This foam trick is applied to both sides of the mask. Now moving on for the ports for the eyes, these are first rough cut using some shears, and then I use a detail scalpel to cut out the middle. Now this isn't always the cleanest cut method, so I go back in with my Dremel rotary tool and clean up the edges. For the lenses on this mask, I'm going to be using some cheap sunglasses that I'd found with a purple hue. The lenses are popped out of the frame and then dremeled down to a basic circle. Now don't worry if your circle isn't perfect because the foam is going to cover up the cuts. Now it's time to detail out this mask, and I want it to have a stitched look, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut some very thin strips of 2mm HD foam. I then use a leather stitch guide and a Sharpie to make sure I get proper spacing for my foam threads. I then pre-drill to make sure that I have pilot holes for the foam to be pushed into. I'm going to use a somewhat dull leather needle to press the foam into the holes. It works perfect for this application. All I need to do is put a little dot of super glue into the hole and press the foam in, and then wrap it around to the opposite side. This type of detail can take you a while, but it is pretty convincing as a stitched leather look. This same stitch process is also replicated on the bottom of the beak. I just want to take a minute to thank all of my Patreon supporters and those of you that have been purchasing my line of HD foam. Now, if you guys are buying my foam from Blick Art Materials, be sure to go through my website or the links below first, because I do receive a vendor affiliate, and that allows me to continue to do what I do, which means more videos for you guys, more tips and tricks for prop and costume fabrication. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. More videos are on the way. I go ahead and glue the eye ports into place just so I can figure out the spacing for the stitches on the top section. Now this is the type of detail that you could add as many or as few as you want. I really want you guys to take this template and make it your own. And remember, once you're done, be sure to tag me at SKS Props on Twitter and Instagram. After that's complete, I use some flat cut snips to get rid of the additional foam on the inside. Using a leather hole punch, I pop out some fake rivets from 2mm HD foam. Now even though I'm going to hot glue some elastic straps to the sides and top of this mask, this will simulate the fact that they're riveted in. I mark on the mask where they need to go and then glue them into place using some Bob Smith super glue. To give this mask a little bit of texture, we're once again going to be using the tinfoil technique. When heating foam, always remember to wear your respirator. To do this, we're going to be heating the foam lightly with a heat gun, making sure to continuously move it so we don't burn or scorch the foam. When the foam is warm to the touch, go ahead and ball up some tinfoil and press that into the surface to emboss it. And that little bit of texture is going to be fantastic when I add the paint. Now that the fabrication side of my plague mask is complete, I can start thinking about painting it. And to do that, I'm going to be using the brand new FX line from Plaid. Now this is a paint and primer all-in-one, so all I need to do is just paint this directly to the surface of my HD foam, right? Right. To paint the base layer of this mask, I'm going to be using 3 different FX paints: Carbon, Gauntlet, and Eris. What this is going to do is give it a base color that has a sheen to it rather than just being a flat black all on its own. These paint plus primer colors are mixed together using a 1-inch mop brush and then applied directly to the HD foam mask. The main thing here being that you want a pretty even coverage all the way around, and you want to cover the entire surface. So once I'm done with the mop brush, I switch over to a smaller filbert brush to fill in all the gaps. And even though it's not necessary, I go ahead and paint the back and the sides as well. I use a hairdryer to speed up the drying process, so you can see the paint did a great job sealing the foam, keeping the texture, and giving it a little bit of a sheen. To contrast the front of this mask, I'm going to go back in with some of the Eris purple and a 1-inch mop brush and dry brush over the surface. Now I'm painting mine to start in the front and feather to the back, making sure not to get the paint into all the little detail crevices that I'd put in there with the tinfoil. This dry brush technique was applied to both sides and the bottom of the beak. The top section and sides of the mask were looking a little boring, so I decided to go ahead and add some paint to those parts as well. But I made sure not to paint it all in, keeping it pretty dark around the eyes. I went back with a second coat, this time not dry brushing but stippling the paint onto the beak, once again using the 1-inch mop brush. I wanted the stitches to stand out, so once the purple paint had dried, I went back in with just the pure carbon and painted each lace individually. I started off by painting the tops of the laces with a small detail flat brush, and then switched over to a very small detail brush to paint the laces that are going inside of the mask and the faux rivets. I'm really digging this color combination, it's just enough to set them apart. Now it's time to install the lenses. So I take my cut down sunglasses, making sure the darkest part is at the top, and hot glue those into place using my Surebond hot glue gun. I will say the reflectiveness of this lens looks awesome against that matte surface. To help secure this mask to my head, I'm going to be using some tri-glides and 1-inch elastic. The elastic is hot glued around one end of the tri-glide. That process is done twice. The strap is then woven through the glides on either side. This will make this mask fully adjustable. Using my double adhesive method of hot glue and super glue, the straps are glued to either side of the mask, right above where your ears would be. Additional hot glue is placed on top just in case. To make this mask a little more comfortable to wear, a small section of upholstery foam is cut out and glued right above the lenses. A strip of 1.5-inch elastic is then wrapped and glued around the 1-inch elastic that's already there, and then that is adhered to the top of the forehead. This piece will help support the mask, making sure it doesn't slide too far forward on your face. To finish off the inside of this mask and make it look a little more professional, small sections of upholstery foam are cut out and glued over the ends of the elastics. And there you have our finished Plague mask. So you guys can see the basic steps that it takes to not only fabricate, but paint your own plague mask. Now this is just for show. Don't go thinking that it actually protects you from the plague. But what I do want you to do is go to my website, download the template, and build your own. And really, be creative with it. And then if you do build it, tag me at SKS Props on Twitter and Instagram so I can see your creation. And if you guys are enjoying these videos, be sure to give them a thumbs up, share them with your friends and family, and until next time, build your best with the best. HD Foam.